Hello everyone, welcome to a different sort of video. This is my first digital video I've been making. Um, this is supposed to give you insight on what I've been doing recently. I haven't been able to upload since I've been working on schoolwork, specifically making this video game ahead of time for my animations and graphics design class. This will be the recreation of the Albertosaurus from a game called Trespasser, which was an utter failure in their time, but is kind of a cult classic for me and many other Jurassic Park fans. As you can see, the model's been fine-tuned and already sculpted, and I've been working on the texture map. I'm gonna shut up now and let you just enjoy me sculpting for about an hour. So, if there is something I need to talk about, I will talk about it. See you then. So I just realized I forgot to take the time to tell you what I'm using. This is Sculptress. It is a free-to-use sculpting program. I would recommend, when you use it though, not to go overboard and constantly keep using these two tools. Well, they're not on here, but the reduce polygon brush and the reduce polygon on selected. Now, what those things do is, if you're going to do it over, like, let's say these teeth, I know they're a bit rough looking, but they work for what I wanted to use. You would just go over it with the brush, trying to avoid the tips of them so you still have a bit of detail, but keep more of the actual... How do I explain this? Optimization of it, that you could run it on games and computers without it crashing. Now you'll notice I'm adding these custom bumps, even though I have these brushes and textures I can use. The reason for this is you can just get more detail out of these. They can look like bigger bumps. Now, these aren't actually part of the model. They're not 3D. They might look like it, but it's like a texture you put onto the surface. And what that does is, when lighting hits it in Unity or Unreal, this will appear like it's actually 3D model, instead of wasting all the time with individually sculpting all these little bumps. So I'm going to use this flatten bump tool. Everything should be risen up a bit. And I'm going to make my favorite thing to do, scarring. So I'm just going to go along the mouth here. That might be a bit too big. Let me see if this will work. Already looking better. As you can see, starts to give that old dry look of like scars and like where it would have bit into something and torn a bit. Might also want to make it bigger. There we go. Maybe some small ones. But the whole point of this is to give it a more ragged look. It really works. So I'm gonna look for inspiration for a second. So sorry if I'm staying still here. I'm checking on Google for some images of Albertosaurus, specifically from the era of Jurassic Park, which would be the 90s. And back then, you had scales. So far what I'm seeing is there's a very nice image from a sketch drawn by a Mr... Let me look this up. I had it on DeviantArt, but I will put the link... Oh, wait, no. If I can find... Sorry if this is a bit slow, but there is an image of a Albertosaurus that has really been helping me. You might be thinking, wait, this isn't a T-Rex? And you'd be right, but you'd also be wrong. This is technically a very close descendant of T-Rex. Or not even a descendant, a ancestor, technically, or a branching family. So think more of a cousin than a actually Tyrannosaur. So what I'm seeing with these images of the Albertosaurus, both with this fan recreation and the actual model in game, is that they are very, very bumpy looking. So what I'm gonna do is lower the strength on this and go through and add a bit of a lip. Normally I wouldn't, but it'll bring in more details such as that. I'll also even draw in some muscle structure here. Really start bumping up the jawline here a bit more. Or at least better than it was. There we go. So you start to see how this was built up. And you start ending up with this creature that becomes slowly more believable. As you can see, I can see that better as a living creature. So what I'm going to do here is real quick, while I'm at the lower jaw, attempt to draw in a tongue. Now I didn't model a tongue because it would have been a huge hassle on me. But if I would advise doing it if you're making a game. It's more the fact, even in the days back then, they didn't even have tongues in the dinosaurs. Well, besides a texture that would represent a tongue. This always throws me off with the symmetry. Sometimes I go over it and actually end up getting rid of some detail. Just need to fill that in. Maybe even do some work on how the actual jaw would look. Adding things like wrinkles in. Now this is very small details. But what I'm hoping is that it will help in the long run with how this looks. It's already looking more like a dinosaur. Once in a while I'm gonna save these normal maps, though. Just to make sure they don't lose themselves. I'm pretty sure I could go without talking for a while, so see you once again when I need to explain my actions. So you'll notice the model has already had its basic bump mapping and modeling done. The scars, the scales, eyes, teeth. Please excuse how knackered these smaller ones look down here. That's just due to the actual software. Nothing I can really handle. Can't fix it now. Though when you're like playing in the game, you won't notice it that much. So the next part I'm going to show you is how I end up texturing these. So, see you then. I'll be talking later.
Come on, I won't hurt you. Mommy! Daddy, you're supposed to come see this! I found something!
And that track with the voice line will probably get me demonetized, but that is what is known as Kathy's Beach. You know, the little girl at the start of the Lost World that gets eaten by compies? That's her name, Kathy. Bet you guys didn't know that. It was originally going to be part of a huge level, which eventually, when the game is ready, my version of the game will have that level. So as you can see, I've started to get the major aesthetic of the Albertosaurus from the game down. I have the striping exactly as it was in game. Nice little gradients there. And this is looking much better than my first attempt. It seems to be matching a lot more. But I've noticed down the back a bit more. It seems to darken out a bit, so around here start throwing in more of this golden brown. Then transition right back into this rusty color. Since I have this darker color on hand, though, I'm going to add a bit more. How can I explain this? A bit more variety. Had a bit of my accent peek out there. Sorry for that. That's looking mean. And it would seem this lower jaw here has a slightly darker color kind of peek up through here. So I'm going to start throwing a bit of that around carefully. Give this thing more of a menacing look. Also to differentiate the colors a bit more. Get rid of the blocky one tones. And use it to highlight where the jaw ends. As you can see, it works. Now this track right here is called The Monolith. This was actually a reference to 2001 Space Odyssey, where you'll find a giant... Okay, it's getting pretty loud. You'll find a giant black monolith.
My name is John Parker Hammond. I was born on March 14th, 1928. What follows is a record of certain events in which I took part between the years 1980 and 1997 on an island I will call Site B. Site B was not to be a theme park, but a research station. This was where we did the real work. By 1989, International Genetic Technologies had succeeded in their design to genetically recreate the dinosaurs. It was an unprecedented accomplishment, the pinnacle of 20th century science, a work to rank with the achievements of Galileo or Einstein. But it was not all so easy or so simple as it appeared. One seldom hears the true history of such events. What happened at the place where the world changed? How it began? What were the reasons? What was the cost?
Sorry for this, but this is actually the voiceover of world famous, what's his name? I forgot the Hammond's name. Or like his voice actor.
Indiana and world traveler extraordinaire. Well, give me a call when you get back, okay? By the way, I thought you hated flying.
But, yeah, this is... Oh god, I'm sorry for this. But this is the story of Anne. If you can't tell, she was in a plane crash just there. Now this is all the voiceovers, I'm guessing. Yep. You just heard all the cut tracks before the actual song comes in. Oh, I guess this is the final. That's kind of cool.
And it's Jill. This is like the 8th message I'm leaving you. I'm sensing some sort of pattern here. Come on in, quit being the antisocial and pick up the phone sometime. Oh, and by the way, don't even bother calling me unless you have a damn good excuse.
If you can't tell, she dropped a raptor claw from a raptor she kills in the game. It's kind of a cool end of the story, but there was supposed to be a cutscene where she actually was cooking said raptor, looking at the claw like what Alan Grant would do. Problem is, hardware limitations at the time were not allowed any of this. Same reason why they cut 2 levels, the plantation house and the, what is it, the water facility? I don't know. Forest path, that's it. So right now I'm adding a bit more detail by bumping out each of these little scales. Each time I do this, it adds a bit more, makes it pop a bit better, shows I put a bit more care, and that's all that's magic to this. I'm gonna shut up now and let you listen to the sounds of Trespasser once again. Now, this intro, you already heard it. But this theme was actually a start of a game, so to say. It was supposed to be you on the plane, with the music going on. However, the cutscene is so overlapped with screaming, you can't hear it. Well, you can still, but barely. I'm still remarked and surprised it's still in the soundtrack. I feel this is a fairly good place to call it a day. As you can see, the head is fully rendered, textured, and modeled. The eyes are meant to face forward, so it looks like it's staring you down. Now, even in the game, these eyes didn't move. It doesn't mess with me so much as by the time you're right up to it, you'll either be dead or running away. Unless if you're cheating in the game, which case, oh well, it still looks nice. The mouth was basically filled in with black, and the little gradients of the textures really did help. So, with that, thank you guys for watching. If you want to know more or see more of these videos, feel free to ask. And as always, craft on.